Through this, what I'm doing, and what's kind of hard to see on video, is that I'm maintaining pressure at the bottom of that wound channel as I alternate fingers. Yeah, that's going to hurt.
Hi everybody, I'm Tim Bulott and welcome to WeaponsAcademy.com. This is Ammo Shortage Episode 7. And in Episode 7 we're going to go back and reflect on Tac Med Essentials Part 1. I hope you watch that. I hope you've got that information right here because you're going to need it to survive in this program, Tac Med Essentials Part 2. So again, we've got Terry Green. Terry's going to take us through some training tips and ideas with your equipment and give you some information on how to construct your own training models, and analogs, so you can use those at home or wherever to help keep up your Tac Med skills. And once again, we're looking at training during an ammo shortage. So today's session, we're not going to fire a shot, but we are going to work on important tactical training. So let's go now to Terry Green with Tac Med Essentials Part 2. Okay, so we're here again with Terry Green. Terry, welcome back.
Thank you.
Last time we had Terry on the show, he took us through a lot of gear, a lot of thoughts on training and so forth, some do's and don'ts, but today I see you've got something laid out in front of us. What's you got on your mind for today, Terry?
Well, so it's just a quick breakdown on tourniquet application and wound packing. We're not going to hit all the details. We can't in a few minutes on video.
Right.
But what we can do is we can take our analog legs that we had last time.
And they look life size.
Right. And what I've done is I've dressed them. So I've created the illusion as I'm working
that it's real.
Yeah, and so it's creating landmarks as I look at the lower part of somebody's anatomy.
Excellent.
And it's giving me that focus. So when I want to come in and I want to use my training tourniquet, and do tourniquet application, I can then come in and I can practice, whether it's doing a from the leg application, coming up the end of the leg, all the way up, high and tight, to get my application. I can practice it that way. And it actually lets me go through the motions. And then I can tighten it down. From there, so I can go through that. I can also reset the tourniquet, and I can come back and I can practice doing applications, opening the tourniquet up completely. So when I'm employing the tourniquet and deploying it, I'm pulling it completely apart, and I can practice routing it all the way up, sawing it up into place, and pulling it tight. So that way I'm getting, again, I'm getting my application. I'm going through the motions. I'm getting the mechanics into muscle memory for working with my tourniquet. The other thing that I can do with the analog leg is I can work on wound packing. Remember, that's kind of what we were doing by creating the wound channels that we had. And before anybody gets twisty about the fact that I'm not using PPE right now, because you'd want to have gloves on. Right now, personal protective equipment, gloves, masks are at a premium. So I'm not going to use those in training right now because I don't want to waste that material in a training environment. I want to save it for when I actually need it. But when I come back to wound packing, and we'll open up some of the training gauze. That way I can go through, and I've identified my wound. I can come up, find my wound. Oh, there it is. Create that ball and start packing that wound all the way down in and getting that wound pack going. When you go through this, what I'm doing, and what's kind of hard to see on video, is that I'm maintaining pressure at the bottom of that wound channel as I alternate fingers. Yeah, that's going to hurt, but I need to maintain pressure once I've found that bleed down inside there. And it lets me work through that. Once I've gotten that all packed in, and these are 12 feet long. My goal is to pack all of it in there. Let's say I've completely filled that wound channel. I would then come back over the top with the rest of it, and I'd put pressure on. Now, remember, when we're holding pressure on these, I need somewhere between 5 and 8 pounds of pressure, preferably on that higher side, to stop that bleeding. Now I've got, in theory, this is combat gauze, so it has a hemostatic agent. I'm maintaining that pressure for a minimum of 3 minutes. You notice in this case I'm using my elbow. I might use the palm of my hand, but if I'm going to do that, I need full body weight. I'm trying to work smart, trying to minimize my effort so that I'm saving energy for anything else I need to do, whether it's going after another casualty, re-engaging a bad guy, whatever it is. So I'm going to use my body weight. I'm going to use flat bone, maintain that pressure, because 8 pounds of pressure is a lot more than people realize. This would also let me, go to a pressure dressing at this point, which I can, while maintaining that pressure, using my body weight, I can open this up. I've seen videos of people stumbling trying to open a pressure dressing up because they've never opened one before in real life. And they start looking for a pocket knife or a pair of scissors or something when it's already pre-torn and pre-cut to make it easy to open. Obviously it's a little harder with slick hands because at this point you're assuming you've got blood on your hands, but it's still doable. And then I can do my 3 minutes of pressure. I can come back and I can start working on doing my pressure dressing wrap over the top of it. Now, these analogs, when you're doing this to create the leg, it's alternately easier and, strangely enough, harder than doing a real human being. It's not screaming at you, it's not moving, it's not fighting you, it's not doing any of those things. It also doesn't flex like a real human. I've had students using analogs that have actually said, it was harder doing this on a fellow student, putting a tourniquet in place, putting a dressing in place, than it was working on the analogs. I get that. You're dealing with dead body weight. You're dealing with a bag of bones, or bones inside of a bag of Jello, basically. But this gets you through the process. It lets you work those fine skills to hone them down so that you can apply them when you need to. So you can see that the legs are versatile. You can do the same thing with upper extremities. You just use smaller foam to create the upper extremities. That lets you practice the bulk of what you need to for, street side interventions. Control that hemorrhage. That's 25% of it right there in trauma, controlling that hemorrhage. If you look at the Texas tourniquet study, there's a 6-fold increase in survivability with rapid application of a tourniquet, that hemorrhage control. So practice this. It's a great skill set to have, regardless of what you do, but it's also a great way to train in an ammo shortage and never fire a shot. All right, so just to kind of review, we were able to do all our packing and everything that we did and tourniquets on the training analog on our mannequins here. But let's just kind of review what we had, because if you remember from the last session, these are the same legs that we used before, where all we did was took the physical therapy foam, cut it in half, created our wound channels on it, ran PVC through it, and then I attached it to some landscape timber, which I then padded to create that lower extremity. So it becomes an inexpensive, reusable training tool that you can use around the house. You can use on the range. You're not putting anybody in danger. It's really nice when you can get that roast pork and work on it, because then you're working live tissue. But that expires. It goes bad. It's expensive. So this becomes an inexpensive way to set it up, put it away, pack it in the garage till it's time to train. Take it to the range with you. So that kind of shows you what you can do with those. You know, if you have thoughts on it, you have questions about it, hit us up at Strategic Weapons Academy, which is WeaponsAcademy.com. We'll get back to you on that. You may see some things that you can add to this. The only limit is your creativity. With that, good training.
Well, there you have it. More important information delivered to us from Terry Green himself, okay? Good tips there as always. If you're not training hands-on, come on out to our Emergency Care Under Fire class. It's on the training calendar. We run it several times a year, and there's live fire in there as well. So you get to combine some shooting skills with some of these tactical medical skills to try to get more realistic, great hands-on all the same. So we hope you enjoyed today's program. If you're not training, you ought to be. If you're not training at Weapons Academy, come check us out and see what we're doing. Y'all stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you on the next program.